The Galactic Council Chamber was the largest structure ever built by intelligent life. It floated between three dying stars, a massive sphere of crystal and ancient metal that could hold 10,000 representatives from across the known universe. Today, every seat was filled. Today, humanity would answer for its crimes. Ambassador David Kane stood alone on the accusation platform, a small circle of light in the center of absolute darkness. Above him, arranged in rising tiers that seemed to stretch forever, sat the rulers of 800 worlds. Some were made of living metal. Others were clouds of intelligent gas. A few looked almost human, but their eyes held the weight of civilizations that had existed for millions of years. The supreme arbiter rose from its throne. It was a creature of pure liquid silver, constantly shifting between shapes that human eyes could barely understand. When it spoke, its voice filled the entire chamber like thunder. Species designation human. Origin world Sol 3, locally called Earth. You stand accused of harboring a Class 0 war criminal. The punishment for this crime is the complete quarantine of your species and the removal of all your technology. David did not move. He did not show fear. Behind him, a holographic display showed an image that had sent shockwaves through the entire galaxy. A small human salvage ship, and standing beside its captain, a figure that no one had seen in 3,000 years. A progenitor war android. The last of its kind, the chamber exploded into chaos. Insect-like beings clipped their mandibles in fury. Massive stone creatures shifted uneasily on their platforms. Creatures of pure energy pulsed with agitated colors that meant anger in their language. Silence. The arbiter's command cut through the noise like a blade. The chamber went quiet instantly. The human will explain how his species came to possess this weapon of mass destruction. And then he will explain why we should not reduce Earth to ash. David smiled. It was a small smile, calm and confident. The kind of smile that made the arbiter pause. "Honored arbiter," David said, his voice carrying across the vast space, "I believe you have misunderstood the situation. We did not find Unit 7 Omega. He found us. And what he has told us changes everything you believe about the progenitors, about the Great War, and about why this council truly exists." He gestured to the display behind him. New images appeared. Ancient star maps, hidden coordinates, and something that made the entire chamber fall into horrified silence. The progenitor homeworld. Still intact. Still alive. "Before I show you the rest," David continued, "perhaps you should hear how this all began. It started with a salvager named Marcus Vance, who made the mistake of being too curious for his own good. 6 months earlier, on a moon that existed on no official map, Marcus Vance was about to change history. Marcus made his living picking through the wreckage of dead civilizations. His ship, the Fortunate Son, was an ugly collection of parts stolen from a dozen different species. It flew on human stubbornness and blind luck. Most aliens laughed when they saw it. Marcus did not care. It got him where he needed to go. The moon had no name. Marcus had found it by following a ghost signal in his navigation system, a whisper of energy that should not have existed. The Forbidden's territories were full of such mysteries. The Council had banned travel here without ever explaining why. The structure rose from the gray, dust like a black knife cutting into the sky. Its surface swallowed his flashlight beam without reflection. Marcus had been doing this job for 15 years. He knew the architecture of a dozen species. This was none of them. This was older, much older. Inside, the corridors twisted in ways that hurt his eyes. The geometry was wrong, built for beings that did not think in 3 dimensions. His radiation detector screamed warnings. His oxygen levels flickered. Still, he pushed forward. He found the vault at the heart of the structure. Inside, Suspended in a field of frozen light was a humanoid figure made of black metal and silver circuits. Its eyes were dark. Its limbs hung limp. But deep within its chest, Marcus could see a faint pulse of energy. Not dead. Sleeping. Waiting. A plaque sat at the figure's feet, written in a language his translator could not read. But below the ancient text, scratched into the metal in crude universal standard, were words that someone had added later. Do not wake him. For all our sakes, let the last one sleep. Marcus was not a brave man. He was not a hero. He was a salvager who owed money on his ship and was looking for anything he could sell. But something about the figure's face made him pause. It wore an expression that looked almost like sadness, like loneliness, like someone waiting for a friend who would never come. Marcus reached out and touched the control panel. The light flickered. The field collapsed. And Unit 7 Omega opened his eyes for the first time in 3,000 years. The android's hand shot out and grabbed Marcus by the throat. It lifted him off the ground like he weighed nothing. Eyes that glowed with ancient fire scanned his face, analyzing, cataloging, deciding whether to kill. Then, impossibly, the grip loosened. The android tilted its head, studying Marcus with something that looked like confusion. You are organic, it said. Its voice was like thunder rolling through empty halls. You are not council. You are not purifier. What are you? Marcus gasped for breath. Human. I am human. The android's eyes flickered. Something changed in its expression. Something that might have been hope. Human, it repeated slowly. I was told your kind would come. I was told to wait for you. It released Marcus completely. I was told you would be the ones to finish what we started. What are you talking about? What did you start? The android looked at him with eyes that had witnessed the rise and fall of empires. The war, it said. The real war. The one the council has spent 3,000 years making you forget. It paused, and for a moment, it almost smiled. My name is Unit 7 Omega, but my creators called me something else. They called me the Witness. Deep in the ancient structure, alarms began to scream. Somewhere above, ships were descending through the atmosphere. They know I am awake, the Witness said. They are coming to finish what they failed to do 3,000 years ago. It looked at Marcus with an expression that was almost hopeful. You must have a ship. You must have come here somehow. Marcus thought of the fortunate son, his ugly broken ship that could barely outrun a customs patrol. I have a ship, he said slowly, but it is not built for running. The Witness reached out and placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. Where it touched, Marcus felt something flow into him. Knowledge, coordinates, purpose. Then we must make it ready, the android said. Because what I am about to show you will change everything. And the council will burn entire worlds to keep it secret. Above them, the sound of landing ships grew louder. The race had begun. The Galactic Council chamber had fallen completely silent. Ambassador David Kane stood on the accusation platform, watching as the truth spread across the faces of 800 alien species. The holographic display behind him showed images they had been told were impossible. The progenitor homeworld, alive and hidden. Ancient records that contradicted everything the council had taught for 3,000 years. Supreme, Arbiter Vaughn's liquid silver form rippled with barely controlled fury. These images prove nothing. They could be fabrications. Human trickery. Then examine them yourself, David replied calmly. Send your best scientists. Verify every piece of data. But while you do, perhaps you should hear what happened next. How a simple human salvager restored a weapon that your ancestors tried so hard to destroy. The Witness collapsed against the wall of the cargo hold. Its eyes flickered like dying stars. Whatever energy had awakened, it was fading fast. 3,000 years, it whispered. Even I cannot escape time completely. The fortunate sun screamed through hyperspace, putting as much distance as possible between them and the unmarked moon. Behind them, Marcus's sensors had detected Council purifier vessels, ships that officially did not exist, performing operations that were officially never authorized. "What do you need?" Marcus asked, kneeling beside the ancient machine. "Parts? Power? I have a reactor that mostly works and enough salvage to build a small station." The witness studied him with those ancient eyes. "You would help me? You do not know what I am, what I have done." "You are dying," Marcus said simply. "And you said something about a war, about secrets. I have spent my whole life being told where I can go and what I can know. The Council treats humans like children." He paused. "I am tired of being kept in the dark." The witness was silent for a long moment. Then it began to speak. "I need components that no longer exist in this galaxy. Materials that were destroyed or hidden after the Great War." It raised one damaged hand. "But your species has something that others do not. You build for nothing. You adapt. You improve. I have watched civilizations rise and fall, and none of them have the human gift for creation." Marcus thought about his ship, his ridiculous patchwork vessel that every alien laughed at. He thought about how humans had gone from stone tools to starships in what the galaxy considered an eye blink, how they had learned alien technology in decades that other species had taken thousands of years to understand. "Tell me what you need," he said. "I will figure something out." The restoration took 6 weeks. Marcus tore apart his ship and rebuilt it around the witness. He combined human engineering with progenitor technology in ways that should have been impossible. He did not sleep. He barely ate. He worked with a focus that bordered on madness. The witness watched. And as it watched, it began to tell its story. It told Marcus about the progenitors, the first civilization to travel between stars. It told him how they had created the war androids to protect younger species from threats beyond the edge of the galaxy. It told him about the void entities, creatures of pure darkness that emerged from the spaces between stars. "We fought them for 1,000 years, the witness said. As Marcus replaced its damaged power core with a hybrid system he had designed himself. We were winning. And then everything changed. What happened? The Council happened." The witness's voice turned cold. "The species we had protected, the civilizations we had saved, they grew afraid of us. We were too powerful, they said. Too dangerous. They claimed we might someday turn against them." Marcus paused in his work. "Did you? Would you have?" "Never." The word was absolute. We were created to protect. It was our purpose. Our very souls were built around that truth. The witness looked at its newly restored hands. But fear is stronger than truth. The Council formed in secret. They made a deal with the void entities. They promised the creatures feeding grounds in exchange for help destroying us. They made a deal with the enemy? They did more than that. They won. They hunted us to extinction. They destroyed our homeworld. Or so they believed. They erased us from history. They turned us into myths and monsters. And then they built their great civilization on the graves of those who had given everything to protect them. Marcus sat back, his mind reeling. "But you survived. You were in that vault. I was hidden. By the last of my creators, just before the end. They told me to wait, to sleep until a species arose that the Council had not corrupted. A species young enough to still have courage, still have curiosity." The witness looked at Marcus with something like hope. A species called human. The witness was restored. More than restored, actually. Marcus's human modifications had improved the original design in ways that surprised even the ancient android. Your kind builds with intuition, the witness said, testing its newly enhanced systems. You do not wait for permission. You do not follow the approved paths. You simply create. It has gotten us in trouble more than once. Marcus was running final tests. The Council does not like when we touch things we are not supposed to understand. That is exactly why you are dangerous to them. The witness moved to the ship's main console. And why you must see what I am about to show you. It connected to the Fortunate Son's systems. The holographic display came alive with star charts that Marcus had never seen before. These are the true maps, the witness said. The ones the Council has kept hidden for 3,000 years. The forbidden territories. The quarantine zones. The places you are told are too dangerous to visit. It pointed to a region at the galaxy's edge. And this is where I must take you. Marcus stared at the coordinates. That is deep in the exclusion zone. No one goes there. The Council has automated weapons, defense platforms, everything, because they do not want anyone to find what is there. The witness turned to face him. The progenitor homeworld, still intact, still inhabited by the descendants of those who escaped the genocide. They have been waiting 3,000 years for someone to break through. And you want us to do that? In this ship? I want you to do more than that. I want you to carry a message. To tell the galaxy what really happened. To expose the Council for what it truly is. Marcus thought about Earth, about the 8 billion humans who had no idea that. Their place in the galaxy was built on ancient lies and hidden murder. They will try to stop us, he sighed. Yes. They will probably kill. You? Possibly. Marcus looked at the android. This ancient weapon that had been rebuilt with human hands. Then he looked at the star charts. At the truth that had been hidden for longer than human civilization had existed. Well, he said, I did not get into salvage because I wanted a safe life. He reached for the controls. The Fortunate Son dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the exclusion zone. Immediately. Every alarm on the ship began screaming. They were not alone. A Council arbitration fleet hung in the void before them. 17 warships, including the massive dreadnought Voice of Order. On the communication display, Supreme Arbiter Vaughn's liquid form rippled with cold fury. Human vessel. You are ordered to surrender the war criminal designated Unit 7 Omega. Failure to comply will result in your immediate destruction. Vaughn's voice was like ice. You have 30 seconds. Marcus looked at the witness. The android was already connecting to the ship's weapon systems. I modified your defenses during the restoration, it said calmly. We are not as helpless as they believe. Can we win? No, but we can survive long enough to reach the homeworld. If you are willing to take the risk. Marcus thought about his life. His debts. His small, meaningless existence, picking through garbage. Then he thought about truth. About justice. About the chance to finally matter. 20 seconds, Vaughn announced. Marcus Vance, salvager of forgotten things, opened the communication channel. Arbiter Vaughn, he said, with all due respect to your 17 warships and your 3,000-year cover-up, come and get us. He pushed the throttle forward. The Fortunate Son screamed toward the exclusion zone. The Galactic Council chamber trembled with tension. Ambassador David Kane had been speaking for an hour, and with every word, the foundation of galactic civilization cracked a little more. The holographic display behind him showed impossible images. A human salvage ship flying through the most forbidden space in the galaxy. Council warships in pursuit. And ahead, emerging from cosmic dust, a world that should not exist. You expect us to believe, Supreme Arbiter Vaughn said, its liquid form churning with barely controlled rage, that a single human vessel penetrated defenses that have held for 3,000 years? I expect you to believe the truth, David replied calmly. "And the truth is that your defenses were never meant to keep everyone out. They were designed to keep you out, to protect what lies beyond from the council itself." The chamber erupted in angry murmurs. David raised his hand for silence. "Let me tell you what happened next. What Marcus Vance found on the other side of your forbidden zone. Space erupted with weapons fire. Marcus threw the fortunate sun into a role that no ship its size should have been able to perform. Plasma bolts that would have vaporized them instantly screamed past the hull. Beside him, the witness worked the weapons controls within human speed, returning fire with systems that Marcus barely recognized as his own. How is this possible? He shouted over the roar of overloading power systems. "You turned my salvage heap into a warship? I combined progenitor defensive technology with your human modifications," the witness replied without looking up. "The Council has better weapons, but they have forgotten how to be creative." A Council interceptor exploded as the Fortunate Son's modified cannons found their mark. 2 more broke off their attack, their pilots clearly shocked by the unexpected resistance. But there were 15 more ships, and the dreadnought voice of order was charging its main weapon. "That cannon can crack a moon," the witness observed calmly. "We cannot survive a direct hit." "Then we do not take a direct hit." Marcus's hands flew across the controls. "The exclusion zone defense grid. It is automated, yes? Programmed to destroy anything that enters? Yes, it has remained active for 3,000 years. No vessel has ever penetrated it." Marcus smiled grimly. "Then let us see if the Council wants to follow us inside." The boundary of the forbidden space was marked by a wall of debris. The remains of ships that had tried to enter over the centuries floated in the void like bones in a graveyard. Marcus did not slow down behind them. The Council fleet hesitated. Vaughn's voice came through the communication channel, and for the first time there was something that sounded like fear. "Human, you will die. No one survives the exclusion zone. Then you will not need to follow us." Marcus cut the transmission and dove into the killing field. The defense platforms awoke like ancient predators sensing prey. Weapon systems that had been silent for centuries powered up, tracking the small human vessel with cold efficiency. The next few minutes were the most terrifying of Marcus's life. He flew through a maze of weapons fire that would have challenged the best pilots in the galaxy. The witness provided support, its ancient system somehow communicating with the defense network. "These platforms recognize me," it said, wonder in its voice. "They still remember the authorization codes. They are letting us through." "Then why are they still shooting at us?" "Not at us. At them." Marcus looked at the display. Behind them, 2 Council interceptors had followed them into the zone. They had not made it far. The defense platforms had torn them apart instantly. "The zone is not designed to keep everyone out," the witness explained. "It is designed to keep the Council out, to protect what lies beyond." The weapons fire around them suddenly stopped. The defense platforms went dormant, their ancient weapons folding back into standby positions. And ahead, emerging from behind a veil of cosmic dust, a planet appeared. It was beautiful in a way that made Marcus's heart ache. Blue oceans, green continents, cities that caught the light of the sun and seemed to glow with inner fire. "I thought the progenitors were machines," he whispered. "Like you." "We are constructs," the witness replied. "But our creators were not. They were beings of flesh and blood, not unlike yourselves. They made us to protect them and to speak for them to younger species." It paused. "When the Council betrayed us, not all of our creators were killed. Some escaped here, to this hidden world. They have been waiting ever since." A communication channel opened. The voice that came through was ancient and tired, but underneath the weariness was hope. "Unit 7 Omega, after all these years, you have returned. And you have brought a human?" I have, the witness confirmed. One who possesses the courage and creativity we have waited for. I believe the time has come. Yes, the voice agreed. Yes, I believe it has. Bring him to the surface. There is much he must learn. The city was ancient, but alive. Its towers reached toward the sky like frozen flames. Marcus walked through streets that had been built before humanity's ancestors had learned to use fire. The witness walked beside him, and around them moved beings who looked remarkably human, but whose eyes held the weight of ages. They brought him to a chamber at the city's heart. Where a single figure waited. She was old beyond measure. Her skin was like paper, her hair like spun silver. But her eyes burned with an intelligence that made Marcus feel like a child. I am Lyra, she said, the last of the original progenitors. I have waited 3,000 years to deliver a message to your kind. What message? Lyra smiled sadly. A warning. And a gift. She gestured, and the chamber's walls came alive with images. Star charts. Weapon designs. Military data. The Council's arrangement with the void entities was not a one-time deal. It continues to this day. Even now, they feed the creatures that dwell between stars. They use the quarantine zones as hunting grounds. What do you mean, hunting grounds? Ships that enter the Forbidden's territories do not always die from defense platforms. Many are taken, harvested, fed to the entities that the Council has promised eternal sustenance. Lyra's voice hardened. Your species has lost many explorers this way. Brave humans who ventured too far, who asked too many questions. Marcus felt cold spreading through his chest. The Council is feeding people to monsters? They are maintaining an alliance that keeps them in power. The void entities could destroy the galaxy if they chose to. The Council's arrangement keeps them contained. Lyra moved closer. But that arrangement is failing. The entity's hunger grows. And the Council has been discussing a new offering. A species numerous enough, curious enough, isolated enough to satisfy the hunger for generations. Marcus's blood turned to ice. Humanity. Your species is the perfect sacrifice. Billions of lives, all on one vulnerable world. When the time comes, Earth will burn, and the galaxy will go on as if you never existed. The witness stepped forward. But there is another option. The gift Lyra spoke of. A pedestal rose from the floor, bearing a crystalline device that pulsed with inner light. The progenitor archive, Lyra said. All of our knowledge. All of our technology. Everything that made us what we were. She looked at Marcus with fierce intensity. Take it to your people. Give humanity the weapons and wisdom they need to survive what is coming. Marcus stared at the archive. If I take this, the Council will declare war on us. They already have, Lyra replied. They simply have not told you yet. Before Marcus could respond, alarms began to sound. The witness's eyes went wide. The defense grid has been breached. Multiple signatures inbound. Council forces, but there is something else. Something I have not sensed in 3,000 years. The sky outside the chamber began to darken. Not the darkness of night. The darkness of something eating the light itself. The void entities, Lyra whispered. They have come. The Council must have summoned them. Why? To destroy this world before its secrets can spread. Lyra pressed the archive into Marcus's hands. Go, now, get to your ship. Get this to Earth. What about you? Lyra smiled, and there was peace in her eyes. We have been waiting 3,000 years to die. We stayed only to ensure someone would carry on what we started. She placed a hand on his cheek. You have given us that gift. Now go. Save your people. The witness grabbed Marcus's arm. We must leave, now. They ran as the sky continued to darken, as the ancient city began to shake. as things that had no shape and no name descended from the void. Behind them, Lyra watched the darkness come and smiled. Her waiting was finally over. The Galactic Council Chamber had become a place of fear. Ambassador David Kane stood on the accusation platform, but he was no longer the one being judged. The holographic display behind him showed the destruction of the progenitor homeworld, the void entities consuming everything in their path. And then it showed something that made every representative in the chamber freeze with terror. The fortunate sun, emerging from hyperspace directly above Earth, and behind it, across the galaxy, the darkness beginning to stir. "You brought this upon yourselves," David said quietly. "You summoned those creatures to destroy a world of refugees. And now they have tasted blood again. Now they remember their hunger." Supreme Arbiter Vaughn's liquid form rippled with something that looked almost like panic. "This is human manipulation. Human lies." "No," David replied. "This is human survival. And this is what happened when the truth finally came home." The fortunate sun screamed through hyperspace, its engines pushed far beyond any reasonable limit. Behind them, the progenitor homeworld was dying. Marcus watched on the rear sensors as the void entities consumed everything. Cities that had stood for thousands of years vanished into impossible darkness. The planet itself seemed to crack and break apart, its very matter being devoured by hungry shadows. "They are all gone," he whispered. "Lyra, everyone, not everyone." The witness's voice was steady, but there was grief beneath it. "Some may have escaped through underground tunnels. The progenitors always had backup plans." It paused. "But that is not our concern now. We must get the archive to Earth." Marcus looked at the crystalline device in his hands. So small, to contain so much. "How do we do that?" "The Council will have ships waiting at every exit point." "Yes, which is why we are not going to exit through any normal route." The witness made adjustments to the navigation computer. "I have unlocked abilities in your ship that should not be possible. Human engineering combined with progenitor technology has created something unexpected." "What kind of something?" "The ability to fold space, to jump directly to Earth's orbit, bypassing the Council blockade entirely." Marcus stared at the android. "That is not possible. Fold technology takes years to develop. Massive infrastructure. We cannot just create it from nothing. Your species keeps telling itself what is and is not possible. Yet you continue to achieve the impossible anyway." The witness almost smiled. "Perhaps it is time you stopped limiting yourselves." The ship shuddered as new systems came online. Marcus felt something shift in reality itself, as if the universe was making room for something that should not exist. "Prepare yourself," the witness said. "This will be uncomfortable." The fortunate sun folded dot. They emerged in chaos. Earth hung before them, beautiful and blue. But surrounding the planet was a nightmare. A Council arbitration fleet, even larger than the one at the exclusion zone, had surrounded humanity's homeworld. Dozens of warships, their weapons charged and ready. They moved fast, Marcus breathed. How did they know? Vaughn must have sent a condemnation order the moment we entered the exclusion zone. "Your species has been declared hostile. These ships are here to enforce quarantine." The witness's voice was grim. "And if I am reading their weapon signatures correctly, they are prepared to do far more than that." Human voices filled the communication channels. Military frequencies crackling with barely controlled panic. Unknown vessels have surrounded Earth. All military units to high alert. This is not a drill. They are charging weapons. They are actually going to attack. Stay calm. United Earth Command is attempting to negotiate. Marcus opened a channel to Earth's defense network. "This is Marcus Vance, civilian salvage operator. I have information critical to Earth's survival. I need to speak to whoever is in charge." Silence. Then a new voice, hard and professional. "This is Admiral Tomo Nakamura, United Earth Defense Force. We are a little busy right now. Whatever you are selling, it can wait. I am not selling anything. I have proof of a council conspiracy to destroy humanity. I have technology that can save us. And I have about 5 minutes before they figure out I am here and destroy my ship." Another pause. Then, transmitting coordinates. "Get to the command station immediately. This had better be worth it." The fortunate son dove toward Earth. Admiral Nakamura was a small woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen too much. She looked at Marcus with clear skepticism, at the witness with barely hidden fear, and at the archive with something that might have been desperate hope. "You are telling me," she said slowly, "that the Galactic Council has been lying to every species in the galaxy for 3,000 years. That they made a deal with monsters to commit genocide, and that they are planning to sacrifice Earth to those same monsters." "Yes, and you expect me to believe this because an ancient war robot told you?" "I expect you to believe it because it is the truth." Marcus set the archive on the table between them. "This device contains everything. The historical records, the Council's secret communications, the designs for weapons and defenses that could make humanity a real power in this galaxy." Nakamura stared at the archive. "If we access this, if we use this technology, the Council will attack. They are going to attack anyway. This just gives us a fighting chance." The witness stepped forward. "Admiral, I have fought wars beyond your imagination. I have seen civilizations rise and fall, and in all my existence, I have never encountered a species quite like yours. Your people built starships before you had been part of the galaxy for a single generation. You adapt. You innovate. You refuse to accept limits. The progenitors saw this potential. They prepared for your arrival for thousands of years. Why us? Because you are not afraid to be different. You do not wait for permission to grow. You are what we were before the younger species turned against us." The witness met her eyes. "The Council fears you because they see in you what they saw in us. Potential. And they will not allow that potential to exist." Nakamura was quiet for a long moment. Outside the station windows, the Council fleet hung in space, weapons ready. Then she reached out and touched the archive. Light exploded through the room. The archive's contents flooded into Earth's computer networks. In seconds, humanity had access to more knowledge than they had gathered in their entire history. But it was not just information. It was proof, records of the Council's conspiracy dating back 3,000 years. Communications between the High Arbiters and the Void entities. Lists of species that had been sacrificed over the centuries, their homeworlds fed to the darkness. And plans. Current plans. Detailed strategies for humanity's extinction. The information spread across Earth like wildfire. Within minutes, it had been translated into every human language, every news outlet, every screen on the planet. And then it went further. The archive contained progenitor communication technology that could broadcast to every ship, every station, every world in the galaxy. Marcus watched in amazement as the truth about the Council beamed itself to 800 inhabited planets. "What have you done?" Vaughn's voice came through the communication system, filled with fury. "This is lies. Fabrications designed to undermine galactic stability." "Then prove it wrong," Marcus replied. "Open your archives. Let observers examine your records. If you are telling the truth, you have nothing to hide." Vaughn's form went still. 3,000 years of secrets suddenly exposed. "The Council does not answer to humans," Vaughn finally said. "Your species is young, primitive. You do not understand the complexities of galactic governance." "We understand murder," Admiral Nakamura cut in. We understand conspiracy, and we understand that you are pointing weapons at our world. She smiled coldly. We also understand something else. Thanks to the archive, our defense platforms just received a significant upgrade. Around Earth, the orbital defense grid came alive with progenitor technology. Vaughn's form rippled. Something changed in the alien's posture. Not defeat. Something worse. So be it, the High Arbiter said. If humanity chooses to stand with ghosts and war machines, then humanity will share their fate. The Council flagship began to move. Not toward Earth, but away. What are they doing? Nakamura demanded. The witness's eyes went wide. They are retreating to safe distance. And they are broadcasting on a frequency I have not heard in 3,000 years. It turned to Marcus, fear in its ancient eyes. They are summoning the void entities. All of them. That is insane. They will destroy their own fleet. The Council would rather see the galaxy burn than lose their power. The witness moved to the window. The entities are coming. I can feel them. A tide of darkness that will consume everything. Marcus watched the Council ships retreat. Beyond them, at the edge of sensor range, space itself was beginning to warp. To darken. How long do we have? Hours, perhaps less. Nakamura's voice was steady. Then we use those hours. We take what the archive has given us, and we prepare. Prepare for what? Marcus asked. You said they are bringing every void entity in existence. How do we fight that? The witness turned from the window. Its eyes held something new. Not fear, determination. We do not fight them, it said. We do something that no one has ever attempted. Something the progenitors were working on when the Council betrayed them. What? The android's eyes blazed with ancient fire. We close the door. The void entities enter our dimension through tears and reality. Gateways that the Council has kept open for 3,000 years. The archive contains plans for a device that can seal those gateways forever. It paused. But building it will require every resource humanity has. Every scientist. Every engineer. Every ounce of human creativity and determination. Admiral Nakamura was already reaching for her communication device. Then that is what we do. Marcus looked at the witness. Can we actually do this? Can humans build something like that in a few hours? The android almost smiled. Your species went from stone tools to nuclear power in the blink of a cosmic eye. You landed on your moon with less computing power than a child's toy. You rebuilt me with salvage and stubbornness. It placed a hand on his shoulder. If any species in this galaxy can achieve the impossible in an impossible time, it is yours. Outside, the darkness continued to gather at the edge of space. The countdown had begun. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so quiet. Ambassador David Kane stood on the accusation platform, but he was no longer alone. Behind him, holographic displays showed the final chapter of humanity's story. The darkness gathering at the edge of Earth's solar system. The desperate race to build something that had never existed before. And the sacrifice that had saved not just one world, but every world in the galaxy. Supreme Arbiter Vaughn's liquid form had gone completely still. Around the chamber, representatives from 800 species watched in horrified silence. What you are about to see, David said quietly, is why humanity is not here to beg for mercy. We are here to demand justice. Earth had never moved so fast. In factories around the world. Progenitor blueprints were being translated into human manufacturing processes. Scientists who had spent their careers on theory found themselves building devices they had only dreamed of. Engineers worked alongside the witness, learning secrets that had been lost for 3,000 years. And in orbit, the darkness gathered. Marcus stood on the command station's observation deck, watching the void between Earth and the moon begin to shimmer with wrongness. The void entities were coming. He could feel them somehow. A pressure against his mind that spoke of hunger and endless consumption. The device is 70% complete, Admiral Nakamura reported, joining him at the window. Another 2 hours. Do we have 2 hours? She did not answer. They both knew the truth. A message came through from the surface. The voice belonged to Dr. Elena Frost, the physicist leading the construction effort. We have hit a problem. The device requires a power source that we do not have. The specifications call for a progenitor energy core, but those were all destroyed in the Great War. The witness spoke from across the room. Not all. Everyone turned to face the android. Its eyes were calm and resigned. I am powered by a progenitor core, the last one in existence. It moved toward the window. It will be sufficient. Marcus felt his heart stop. No, there has to be another way. There is not. The witness looked at him with ancient, weary eyes. I have lived for 3,000 years. I have seen wonders and horrors beyond description. I have waited alone in darkness for the chance to fulfill my purpose. It placed a hand on his shoulder. Let me fulfill it, but you will die. I will end. There is a difference. Everything ends eventually. What matters is what we leave behind. Before Marcus could respond, the alarms began to sound. The witness's eyes went wide. They are here. They came like nightmares, given form that the void entities poured through tears in reality. Shapes that hurt the human mind to look at. They consumed light, consumed matter, consumed everything they touched. The council fleet that had retreated was caught in the wave of darkness. Their ships dissolved like ice and fire. Vaughn's voice came through the communication channel one final time, screaming. This was not supposed to happen. They were supposed to obey. They were supposed to follow orders. Then silence. The entities turned toward Earth. The device is at 90%, Dr. Frost reported, her voice tight with controlled fear. We need more time. Time is something we no longer have, the witness said. It moved to the launch bay. I will buy you what I can. How? The android's eyes blazed with power. I am a progenitor war unit. I was built to face threats like this. It paused at the airlock. When the device is ready, activate it. Do not wait for me. Marcus grabbed its arm. Please. There has to be another way. There is no other way. The witness placed its hand over his. You restored me, Marcus Vance. You gave me purpose when I had none. Now let me give you something in return. Let me give you a future. It stepped into the airlock. The doors closed, and then it launched itself into the void. The witness fought like a god of ancient legends. Energy blazed from its form as it tore through the leading edge of the void entity swarm. Ancient weapons carved paths of light through the darkness. It moved with speed and precision that no organic being could match. But there were too many. Always too many. On Earth, the world watched in awe and horror as the small, glowing figure held back the tide. Humans who had spent their lives believing they were alone in the universe saw one of the greatest warriors in. Galactic history sacrificed everything to protect them. And they worked. Faster. 95%, Dr. Frost reported. Just a few more minutes. The witness was faltering. Its light was dimming as the entities surrounded it, consumed it, tore at its ancient form. Still it fought. 98%. A void entity larger than the others emerged from the swarm. A thing of pure hunger that reached for Earth with tendrils of darkness. The witness intercepted it, wrapped itself around the creature, and detonated its remaining weapons in a blast of light that pushed the darkness back for precious seconds. 99%. Silence from the void. The witness's signal was gone. Marcus stood at the window, tears streaming down his face. 100%, Dr. Frost said quietly. Device is ready. Nakamura's voice was hoarse. Activated. The device rose from Earth's surface. A crystalline sphere that contained 3,000 years of progenitor knowledge and the last progenitor energy core. It pulsed once, twice, and then light erupted across the solar system. The tears in reality. The gateways that the Council had kept open for thousands of years began to close. One by one, the void entities were cut off from their source. Trapped in a dimension they could not survive, they screamed. A sound that existed only in the mind. A cry of hunger and fury, and something that might have been fear. And then they began to dissolve. It took hours. Long, terrifying hours during which the entities raged against their fate. But the gateways were closed. The connection was severed. When the last entity dissolved into nothing, the sun rose over a planet that had survived the impossible. 3 months later, Ambassador David Kane finished his testimony. The Galactic Council chamber was half empty now. Dozens of species had withdrawn in the wake of the revelations. The old leadership was gone, consumed by the very creatures they had bargained with. In their place stood a coalition of younger representatives, species who had seen the truth and chosen a different path. The charges against humanity are dismissed, the new High Arbiter announced. The Council formally recognizes the crimes committed by our predecessors and pledges to work toward justice for affected species. David nodded gracefully. Earth accepts this acknowledgement, and we offer partnership to any species willing to work toward a better galaxy. Representatives began to rise in acceptance. Species who saw in humanity not a threat, but hope. We also have a request, David continued. The being known as Unit 7 Omega sacrificed itself to save not just Earth, but every world in the galaxy. We ask that a memorial be established in its honor. Agreed, the Arbiter said. David smiled. But there was sadness in it. 1 year later, Marcus Vance stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, humanity's first deep space installation. He had been offered positions in government, in the military, in research institutions. He had turned them all down. He was still a salvager, still searching through forgotten places for lost treasures. The only difference was that now he had a purpose beyond paying his bills. The witness had spoken of other progenitor survivors, refugees who had escaped through hidden passages before the homeworld fell. Marcus had made it his mission to find them, to offer them a place in the new galaxy being built. His ship was called the Second Chance now. His crew was a mix of humans and aliens who shared his vision. As he prepared for another expedition, his communication device buzzed. Mr. Vance? This is Ambassador David Kane. Ambassador, what can I do for you? We have detected an anomaly in the outer reaches, a signal that matches progenitor communication frequencies. His voice was careful. We think it might be survivors. Marcus felt his heart quicken. Transmitting coordinates now, Kane continued. Good luck, and thank you for everything. The coordinates appeared on his display. A region of space no human had ever visited. A mystery waiting to be solved. Marcus smiled. Somewhere, he knew, the witness was watching. Set course for the anomaly, he told his crew. Let us see what else is out there. The Second Chance turned toward the stars, and humanity's true journey began.